Okay, we're now live. Welcome all to today's meeting of AGEC, the Audit Governance and Ethics Committee meeting. First off, agenda item 1, apologies for absence. We have apologies from Councillor Payne and Councillor Don Davis. And I think everybody else is here, so that should be good. Emergency evacuation procedures. Obviously we're all remote, so you should know how to get out of your own house and call the fire brigade, obviously. And everyone here at headquarters has been briefed on their evacuation procedures as well. Declarations of interest. I have none advised, but has anybody got anything they wish to declare? No, that's brilliant. Okay, well, we'll move on to item 4, which is Chair's business. So I'd like to advise you that the meeting will be video recorded and live streamed onto the Avon Fire and Rescue YouTube channel. By remaining on the Zoom call, attendees are agreeing for their images and voice recording to be posted. I'm now going to just read out the Zoom guidelines, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with, having heard them a million times before. In view of the current restrictions that COVID-19 has placed on everybody, including the Fire Authority, this meeting of the Audit, Governance and Ethics Committee will take place using Zoom this morning. To ensure the meeting goes as smoothly as possible, there are several points and guidelines that I would like to run through with members and for the benefit of any members of the public that are watching the live stream of this meeting. Once the meeting begins, attendees will be placed onto mute unless invited to speak by the chair of the meeting. If members wish to speak or have a question, please indicate this by sending a message using the chat function. This will be monitored, and at the end of each item, there will be an opportunity for members to speak in turn. The open section of a Fire Authority meeting will be video recorded and live streamed onto the Avon Fire Authority Avon Fire and Rescue Service YouTube channel. By attending a meeting via Zoom, attendees are agreeing for their images and voice recording to be posted. Due to the reduction in the length of meetings, it is intended that for reports provided for information or noting, a full discussion will not take place. Please keep any mobile phones on mute to avoid interruptions and interference with sound. Public access statements will not be able to be presented at the meeting by the author, but will be received by members and published along with the minutes of the meeting. There is a time limit of 30 minutes for public access. And to inform you that no public access statement has been received for this meeting. If I need to call a short comfort break, I will say how long that break will be for the information of attendees and those watching. The recording and live stream will remain running, but video images should be turned off as well as microphones remaining muted. On return from the break, video images should be switched back on. Thank you for listening to that. I'd like now to welcome James Mason to the committee. James is our new independent person who will be invited to join all Fire Authority and AGEC meetings. So welcome along, James. I'd also like to welcome, although she's not in the meeting today, Claire Bentley, I think she'll be joining us later, who has been appointed as the new head of finance. And also, can I advise that Lynn Lamb is leaving the service, and I'd like to thank her for all the work she's put in and completed as finance manager, and I'd like to wish her well for the future. So I'm going to go around, and apologies if the order isn't quite what you see. I'm just going to go by who I can see on the screen, and I'm going to get everybody to introduce themselves for the benefit of the public watching. So first off, I'm Councillor Paul Goggin. I represent Hartcliffe and Withywood Ward on Bristol City Council, and I'm chair of AGEC. I'd like now to introduce Emma.
Good morning, I'm Emma Bowen. I'm Democratic Services Assistant at Avon Fire.
Thank you. And Amanda?
Good morning, Chair. I'm Amanda Brown. I'm the Clerk and Monitoring Officer for Avon Fire Authority.
Thank you. Trevor?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Trevor Jones, one of two councillors for Winterbourne on South Gloss Council.
Thank you. Sam?
Good morning, I'm Sam Wilcock and I'll be taking your minutes today.
Thank you, Sam. John?
Hi, I'm Councillor John Ash from South Gloucestershire, and I represent Bradleystoke South.
Thank you. Neil?
Good morning, I'm Councillor Neil Butters. I represent Bath Avon South Ward on Bath and North East Somerset Council. That's a large rural ward between Bath and Radstock. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Ian?
Good morning, members. I'm Ian Howes, the partner from External Audit, Deloitte.
Thank you. Richard?
Good morning, everybody. Richard Stokes, Culture and Inclusion Manager, Avon Fire Rescue Service. Good morning.
Thank you, Richard. And Councillor Tucker?
Morning, everyone. Richard Tucker, Western Supermare, Milton Ward, North Somerset Council.
Thank you. Mark?
Mark Jones, partner with RSM. We provide the internal audit service.
Thank you, Mark. Simon?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Simon Shulton, one of the Assistant Chief Foresters here at Avon Fire and Rescue.
Thank you, Simon. Vicky?
Morning all, Vicky Gould from Internal Audit, RSM.
Thank you. Claire?
Chair, in relation to Claire, our new head of finance, Claire's not with us today. She's urgently working on the budget setting information for our AFA report.
No, that's okay, Danielle. I was just asking Claire Pratt to introduce herself.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Morning, I'm Claire Pratt. I'm the Interim Business Continuity Advisor, and I've got Justin Hobbs with me as well, who's the Group Manager for Risk Intelligence.
Thank you, Claire and Justin. Angie?
Good morning, I'm Angie Feeney. I'm the Director of Corporate Services here at Avon Fire and Rescue Service.
Thank you, Angie. Danielle?
Morning all, I'm Danielle Neal. I'm the Treasurer for Avon Fire Authority.
Thank you, Danielle. James, James, a new independent person.
Hi, my name's James Mason. I've just been appointed as the independent person.
And Jane.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jane William Flock, and I'm the Corporate Assurance Manager. Sorry.
Thank you, Jane. Okay. I'd like now to move on to, well, I'll explain the voting that will take place today when we have votes. I will ask members for votes against. I will ask members for abstentions. And then if I have no responses on those, I will assume that members are voting in favour. Can I now move on to the minutes of our last meeting held on the 5th of November? Does anybody have any questions, queries or amendments to those minutes? No, that's brilliant. Okay, can I move that we approve those minutes, please? Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Butters. Those minutes are approved. Emma will email a copy of the minutes to myself, and I will confirm by email that I have approved those minutes. Agenda item 6 is the public access, and as we've said, there have been none received for this meeting. So we'll move straight into business, which is agenda item 7, the annual statement of assurance 2019-20, and that's presented by Jane.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to present the draft annual statement of assurance 2019-20 to the committee for approval and publication. Scrutiny and approval of the statement of assurance is delegated to this committee, and this statement must be published by the 31st of March. The statement of assurance is a statutory requirement of the Fire and Rescue National Framework for England and covers 3 specific areas: financial, governance and operational, the details of which are provided in the statement on pages 21 through to page 35. On page 36, I have also included a summary of our improvement during 1920 and our future plans. On page 41, Annex A sets out the priorities and objectives within the national framework and provides a detailed summary of how the Fire Authority complies with each of the framework requirements. Also provided within Annex A are links to sources of evidence to demonstrate our compliance. Annex B on page 58 of your committee papers provides a summary of the statement of accounts as at the year end 31st of March 2020. Also on page 62 is a copy of the independent auditor's report on the audit of the financial statements 2019-20. Unless there are any questions from members, this is the end of my report. Thank you.
Sorry about a slight technical issue there. We're having to share a microphone, so you couldn't unfortunately see Jane for the majority of that. But I'd like now to open to questions from members to Jane. Does anybody have any questions on the item? I have none indicated. So we are asked to approve the annual statement of assurance for publication and then to recommend to the Fire Authority Chair that he signs the forward on behalf of the full Fire Authority. So I'd like to move that we do approve the statement and recommend. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Butters, thank you. Thank you also, Councillor Tucker. That has been approved, and we'll move on to item 8, which is the internal audit update. And I believe Vicky is presenting this one.
Chair, I'm going to just say a few words about the progress report, and then Vicky will take you through the detailed internal audit reports, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mark.
So we've got our usual internal audit progress report. So this sets out progress against the current year's plan. So you'll see there that a couple of reports have been finalised. Just to note that the version of the progress report that you've got in your pack is slightly out of date because it shows the diversity inclusion audit and the financial management audit. So I'm now on page 70 of the pack. It shows them as draft reports when in fact they are finalised. So if that could just be noted that they are finalised, and Vicky will be taking you through those shortly. So just in terms of progress, you can see that we've now completed a number of audits, though there are some pieces of work yet to finalise and to deliver. But I thought it'd be just useful to say that at this point in time, there's nothing in the work that we have done so far that would lead us to give an adverse annual opinion, and that would obviously, our annual opinion would therefore feed into your statement of assurance for the current year, which you will consider at this point next year. So at the moment, things are looking satisfactory, but there are some audits left to be done, and obviously we don't yet know the outcome of those audits, but no issues of significance to raise based on the work that we've done so far. The other just point to note really is on page 72 of the pack, just some changes to the audit plan, just so that the committee are aware of that. So the key change is that for the reasons explained there, the data quality audit has been moved back into the 21-22 programme, and in its place we brought forward the risk management audit to be done shortly. And then the other changes there to workforce planning, financial management and business continuity planning are just changes to the timings of those audits for various reasons, but they will flow through to you and obviously form part of the annual opinion when we're ready to do that. So that was all I wanted to say on progress. So I'll pause at that point and take any questions at that point before Vicky goes into the detail of the 2 audits that we have finalised.
Thank you, Mark. Do members have questions for Mark on what he's got through just now regarding the changes to the internal audit plan? No, I don't have any questions for you, Mark. So we'll move on to Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just to present the latest 2 internal audit reports that we have finalised since the last meeting. So we had an advisory review around diversity and inclusion, and we used our HR consultancy specialists to support the internal audit team with this review. So this feeds in benchmarking and good practice that we see from across our client base. And we focused on 3 areas around diversity and inclusion. So integrating diversity and inclusion into culture, enhancing the external profile and the recruitment and progression of staff. So whilst we haven't given an assurance opinion, we have agreed an action plan with 10 actions with management that are to be taken forward. And the overall conclusion in this area was that whilst we can see a lot of work has been done since the glass lift review in the past, it's now about kind of moving that forward again and making sure that we're properly gaining assurances around the effectiveness of those actions that are being taken. So I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Vicky. Do we have any questions for Vicky at this moment? Trevor, I believe you've got a point to raise?
Yes, I have, Paul. Yes, there's an error in the last paragraph of page 89 where the first sentence doesn't make sense. And it also refers to Eastern Europeans rather than Eastern Europeans.
Thank you, Trevor. I'll just make a note of that. Thank you.
Vicky, have you got the sentence that's just been referred to in front of you so that we could perhaps agree the right wording for that, or do you need me to read it to you?
Yeah, sorry, was it page 89?
Yeah, page 10 of your report, page 89 of the bundle, and it's the diversity and inclusion report, and the sentence I think that Councillor Jones is referring to is it the one that starts the figures presented?
It is indeed, yes.
Okay, the figures presented in the broadly reflect the actual demographic spread present in the areas covered by AFRS. So we just need to get that wording tidied up a little bit. Are you able to, before the end of the meeting, give us that new wording so we can just reflect it in the minutes?
Yeah, sure. Shall I send it on to Emma?
Or if you can have a think before the end of the meeting what it should say, then we can just get that reworded. All right.
And the other error is in line 3 of the same paragraph.
Eastern needs to be Eastern, I'm guessing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, Vicky, and Richard. Councillor Butters, you wish to raise a point.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, as Richard Stokes is kindly with us, whether he's got any particular observations on, our rate of progress so far.
I was just about to invite Richard to speak next, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions for Vicky before I do that? No? Richard, would you care to tell us about the progress?
All the 10 points, the 10 actions that are featured in the RSM internal audit, they're already progressing. So the areas that they identified are certainly nothing new. We'd already started making progress on those from 2019 and even before that as well. One of the most important and key areas for the organisation is the culture survey. And I can give you a little bit of update on that one in particular. So we've had to identify 3 new potential suppliers for that cultural survey, because the original suppliers are no longer trading. So we have now managed to do that. We've had meetings with them, and they've all been issued the RFQ, and obviously once they fill those out and send them back to us, we can obviously make a choice of who will be the supplier. The intended start date for that second part of the cultural review is within the sort of first week of February. It will be certainly a shorter review than the previous survey, and obviously those results there are so key, as we have now been 2 years into that journey of cultural change. There's been a lot of action, a lot of initiatives, and in my belief, a lot of progress made in terms of obviously, addressing the issues that were raised in that first cultural report, which obviously was led by the Baker report. I've been very instrumental in a lot of those initiatives, including cultural survey, mini cultural surveys, cultural workshops, and just towards the end of last year, certainly the last quarter of last year, we embarked on delivering DICE training, that's a diverse inclusion training for middle managers. Senior managers have also had theirs as well. And as a result of those training sessions, we've now decided to cover the whole organisation. So, obviously COVID's been a bit of a hamstring for us in that respect, but the plan is to get the whole of the organisation, diversity inclusion, trained by so the end of this year. We also added on the cultural change workshops into that DICE training as well. So that'll come at the right time. Obviously, we'll get those results on the second cultural survey, and we'll certainly see where we're going in terms of improving, some of those points raised in those first reviews.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for your work as inclusion manager. And it sounds like we are making progress, and I'd like to obviously say that's a good thing. Does anybody have any questions for Richard that they'd like to ask?
Hi, Chair. It's Simon Shilton. Not necessarily a question for Richard, but just for update for members, really, is first and foremost, this audit report from RSM is very welcome. It gives us an opportunity to have a bench check, if you like, or a sense check of where we are as an organisation as a result of 3 years of ongoing work. From the outcome of the Baker report, from the cultural survey, as Richard mentioned there, so feedback from our own staff, and also feedback from HMIC FRS as well, which culminated in a document called Making Avon Fire and Rescue Service a Better Place to Work, which looked both internal and external, and in particular around how we also improve our recruitment methods and recruitment strategies to increase our diversity across our workforce, and of course make Avon Fire and Rescue Service an employer of choice for our communities out there. So I'd just like to acknowledge Richard's work to date, his ongoing work, and also the findings of Vicky and Mark as part of that audit. As I said, it's a welcome feedback, gives us a good sense check, and also gives members some reassurance that we are on a good trajectory in terms of our ongoing improvement in these areas. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Simon, and it's good to hear that the training was so successful. It will be rolled out to all staff at all levels. Does anybody have any questions for Richard or Simon or Vicky on this?
Only to say thank you for the good work, Chair.
Thank you very much, Neil. I'm sure that's appreciated. Okay, we're asked to review progress against the delivery of the 2020-21 internal audit programme. We're asked to agree that the remainder of the plan aligns to the committee's assurance and timing needs, including replacing the data quality audit with risk management in March 2021, to review and approve the detailed internal audit reports, diversity, inclusion and financial management, and associated findings and management actions, and to note the emergency services sector briefing, particularly fire service related items. Does anybody have?
Chair, the
Sorry.
only amendment will be for C. So where we say review and approve the detailed internal audit reports, for the diversity and inclusion report, can you just say subject to typographical errors amended in the final paragraph of page 89?
Thank you. Yes, sorry, Amanda. Vicky, did you have an update on that sentence at all?
Not yet, but
Okay, no problems, no problems.
I haven't presented the financial management report yet either, so I just wanted to go through that one in a bit of detail for members as well.
Please, if you could then. Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you. So every year we do an aspect of financial management as part of our internal audit programme, and this year we decided that as the control framework for a lot of the financial systems and processes were changing due to Danielle's financial improvement plan, that we would use that as the basis for our internal audit work. So whilst we haven't done lots of transactional testing as such this year, we have looked at the development of the financial improvement plan. We've deep dived into 5 areas of that financial improvement plan and looked at how the control frameworks being designed and embedded were developed, the involvement, the governance structure, and benchmarked against good practice. So that was around the improved financial reporting, the update to the SLA with Bristol City Council for financial services and payroll, the financial restructure of the team, policies and procedures, and the new budgetary control and financial business partnering model. So again, just to reiterate what's in the opinion paragraph, is we've looked at the design of the control framework, and as it's not all fully embedded yet, we haven't given an opinion on compliance and application, but obviously we will look at that in the coming years. But yes, we've given a substantial green assurance opinion on the work that's being done and the design of the new control frameworks around the financial improvement programme. So a positive report.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Mark, did you have anything to add to that?
No, nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for questions from members now. Any further on that? I don't have any indicated. So I'll go back to the recommendations, and we are asked to review progress against the delivery of the 2021 internal audit programme, agree that the remainder of the plan aligns to the committee's assurance and timing needs, including replacing the data quality audit with risk management in March 2021, review and approve the detailed internal audit reports, diversity inclusion, bearing in mind the typographical errors that we have there, and financial management and associated findings and management actions, and note the emergency services sector briefing, particularly fire service related items. So thank you very much, Councillor Jones. You've moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ash, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to item 9, which is the Internal Audit Actions Management Monitor. And Jane will be presenting that. So I'm going to swivel my screen across now.
Councillor Goggin, I don't think there's any need to swivel across your screen, because I can certainly see Jane on my screen. So I think it's working fine.
Okay, yeah, I was just concerned that obviously if people have got speaker view on, they'll just see me rather than Jane. But if you'd like to go to gallery view and make sure you can see Jane presenting, that would be brilliant. Jane, sorry, carry on.
This report is for noting and sets out the current position the completion of internal audit recommendations as of the 8th of January 2020. The Corporate Assurance Unit records and monitors all internal audit recommendations to ensure completion. For the 2-year period from April 2018 to March 2020, internal audit issued 50 recommendations, of which 3 were rated as high, 31 medium, and 16 were given a low risk rating. One of the high rated risks has since been downgraded to medium by the auditors. If I can ask members to turn to page 120 of your committee papers, I'll just run through the 2 tables within that appendix. So the first table summarises the completed actions as of 8th of January, and you will see that we had 2 high level recommendations completed, 22 medium and 14 low. A total of 38 actions have now been completed of that original 50 that we spoke about. The table below indicates those actions that are awaiting completion. And again, there are no high level recommendations. There are 11 medium and 5 low. So at this current time, my unit is monitoring 16 actions. Now, the other appendices that I have included give you detailed information on those completed items and also on the awaiting completion items. So unless members have any questions, I'll hand back to the chair.
Thank you very much, Jane. And it certainly looks like we've, with the 38 complete, we're certainly making good progress. Do any of the members have any questions for Jane? No, I can't see any indicated. We are asked to consider the progress being made against the internal audit actions and confirm whether we are content with the progress to date. And I'd like to move that we are. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Butters. That's brilliant. And we'll move on to item 10, which is an item for information only. It's the Finance Improvement Plan update, and Danielle will be presenting on this one.
Thank you, Chair. So this paper is a familiar paper now. This charts how we are progressing with the Finance Improvement Programme. And we've included a number of appendices. So Appendix 1 gives members a detailed update on where we've got to. And this update also includes the important update on progress towards devolved budgets, which has been a key target that we're working to. So in terms of understanding why we developed the Finance Improvement Programme, we went through that at our last meeting. So that was about enhancing financial reporting, strengthening financial controls, and putting in place a fit-for-purpose finance restructure that could meet all of the organisational and financial statutory priorities. Just in terms of devolved budgets, because I'm aware that AJAC members aren't particularly close to this, and I think it's an important development, we've agreed that we will implement a phased approach to devolved budgets over the next year. And the important issue here being to align resources, particularly financial resources, to the delivery of this programme and managing risk at an appropriate level. So I think that's a really important issue. We now have a devolved budget working group set up, which was set up in December and is being chaired by one of our interim finance officers. And that's a technical working group at this point. So that incorporates colleagues in corporate services. The plan is to have a wider engagement working group as and when we've agreed the detailed implementation plan for devolved budgets. And if in the pack, if members look at Appendix 3, This is an SLB briefing paper that I produced and worked through with SLB at the beginning of January. This is hopefully quite an easy document to read and will give members an update on how we are seeking to progress devolved budgets. Within Appendix 3, on the second page, the second and third page, you can see there are a number of dependencies and variables for whether we're able to launch devolved budgets from the 1st of April. And two of the big items I'd like to link in. The key one is the financial department restructure. So this is the structure that we proposed in November. The Director of Corporate Services and myself interviewed for a new head of finance about a week ago, and that appointment's been made in line with the Chair's introduction to Claire Bentley. So we're really pleased with that. However, we do have the interim finance manager, Lynn, leaving us next week. So what we need to do over the next few weeks, myself, Angie and Claire, is sit down and just review what resources we have and what we can do in terms of introducing devolved budget. So that's something, Chair, if we may, we can update you on at the next meeting. The other one is the link. If you're looking at devolved budgets, you need to link this to organisational staffing establishment. And SLB have agreed that this will be in place for the new financial year. So that work is being progressed at the moment. So in terms of key achievements, which I felt AJAC would like to hear, I'm really, really pleased with the internal audit report. So thank you, Vicky, and your team for their work. I think given where we were even a year ago, to receive a substantial assurance from internal audit with no management actions is a significant improvement to the financial controls. And I hope that that gives assurance to AJAC that the finance improvement programme is moving in the right direction and starting to embed very tight financial controls and financial reporting to the organisation. The other achievement, which I'm sure Ian at some point might like to say something on, or he might like to do a double act with me now, is we completed the 1920 accounts to the national time scale, which was an incredible achievement given the resources that we had and the day-to-day workload. And Ian informed me over the last 2 weeks that less than 40% of local government organisations managed to achieve that national deadline. So thank you, Ian, for sharing that with me. But I think that gives the AJAC committee an appreciation of all of the hard work. We've also, as we just heard, all of the internal audit legacy outstanding recommendations, of which there were over 20 for finance, have now been actioned and completed over the last 6 months, which again has been a huge amount of hard work for the finance team. So I'd like to thank them for that. So it's been a very, very busy time. The key now is to ensure that the finance restructure is recruited to as soon as possible over the next few weeks, with the aim that we have a new finance department in place from the 1st of April to help us take devolved budgets and other urgent work forward. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Danielle. And Ian, did you want to add anything?
No, just I can confirm to members what Daniel says is correct. Very few audits were signed off by the end of November, yours being one of the few that were, less than 40%, as she said. So I think that is a huge turnaround from where we were the year before. Look forward now to the next meeting when I bring the plan and moving forward on a normalised timetable, COVID permitting, for the current year. So no, huge change.
Thank you, Ian. I'd just like to say, Danielle, thank you very much for your hard work on this, and to all the members of the finance team. Considering the background of a global pandemic, the progress that you've made, and as you say, what's confirmed by Ian, the position that we are in now, from where we are 12 months ago, is quite remarkable. So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone involved. And now I'll ask for questions from members. Right, looks like you're getting off really lightly, Danielle. There's no questions at all. So that item was, I've just seen in the chat there, we have great achievement, well done, from Councillor Butters. That item was just for information, so we don't have to actually take any action on that. And we'll move on to...
Chair, sorry, before we move on to the next item, can I just draw Sam's attention particularly to the chat? Vicky has very kindly given us the correct wording for page 89 of her report. So if that could be noted in the minutes, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Vicky, for supplying that. I'll just read it out. The updated wording for page 89, final paragraph, D&I report. The figures presented in the ethnicity pay gap report broadly reflect the actual demographic spread present in the areas covered by Avon Fire and Rescue Service. In the Avon Fire and Rescue Service area, people from BME backgrounds represent an average of 9%. This figure does not include white other Eastern Europeans of the population across the 4 unitary authority areas. However, in Bristol, the BME population is 22%, rising to between 35.9 and 80.5% in particular wards such as Lawrence Hill. So thank you very much for supplying that, and that will be minuted. I will now move on to agenda item 11, which is the finance policies and procedures. And again, Danielle will be presenting this one, please.
Thank you, Chair. Now, normally I would have the Head of Finance with me because the finance policies and procedures are detailed procedures. So they're internal procedures, and generally I would say about 50%, 60% relates to the finance team. And then some of the policies are wider. So if there are any detailed questions today, I'm happy to take the questions and then to forward those on to the Head of Finance for response, Chair, if that's okay. So just in terms of background, I think members will recall that finance policies and procedures are an inherent part of strengthening financial control in the organisation. And this is part of the Financial Improvement Programme. When I undertook the gap analysis work back in the summer last year after I joined, there was an absence of financial procedures and policies, which is unusual. So I've been asking the interim project officer to lead some work with the team. And before you today are 4 policies and procedures that you would expect to see within a finance department. This is also an important linkage to the Constitution group, which obviously myself on finance and other corporate services are linking into to make sure that our financial regulations are reviewed and updated. So I don't think I need to say anything more on that. Each of the policies are contained, and I do appreciate that there is a level of detail in here that probably Ajax not familiar with. And as I said, very happy to either take any questions today, log them and ask the appropriate person to come back to you, or I'm very happy if Ajax members, if there's anything significant, if you'd like to email me, I can do that. But the recommendation today, if members have had an opportunity to review, is to approve the finance policies and procedures that we have today. And then the second tranche of policies and procedures will probably come in the new year when we start our journey on devolved budgets. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Danielle. Do any members have questions for Danielle on the draft finance policies and procedures? I don't have any hands indicated. So the
Yeah,
recommendation.
can I just suggest that the recommendation's slightly tweaked? It's occurred to me that if we don't detail exactly the name of the policies that are attached, it might be a bit confusing for the minutes. So I think the recommendation should state the committee is asked to approve the attached draft finance policies procedures and actually list them. So if we can add that list to the minutes, I think that would be clearer, if that's okay.
Thank you, Amanda, and be happy, Sam, if we can do that. That would be brilliant. So we are asked to approve the attached draft finance policies, and the individual procedures will be listed in the minutes. Do we have a mover for that?
Danielle, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, Danielle, you wanted to come back.
Sorry, Chair. Do you want me just to, for Sam, just to list them? Sorry, it's the asset management policy, the payroll, cycle scheme, and final accounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. That's brilliant. Okay, I'll move that then that we approve the attached draft finance policies and procedures as Danielle has just listed. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Tucker, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. So, that is approved, and we will move on to agenda item 12, which is the corporate risk register. And Jane, again, will be presenting on this one.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides members with an update on the current corporate risk register as of 16th of December 2020, and provides a summary of changes to risk ratings which have occurred in the last month. Risk owners are required to review and update each risk on a monthly basis to ensure the risk rating and score remains current and that the level of risk is reflected in the interventions and mitigations planned, in progress and in place. The service leadership team also reviews the corporate risk register on a monthly basis and provides further scrutiny by examining 1 or 2 risks per month in detail. The Service Leadership Board will also review the high-level risks at their regular board meetings. If I can ask members to turn to page 190 of your committee papers, Appendix 1 provides a summary of the changes made to the corporate risk register during the past month. Members will note that there are 6 areas in the high risk category. The reasons for these risk ratings are detailed in Appendix 3 on page 192 of your committee papers. And these relate to the potential impact of the pandemic, the current uncertainty around funding, and the issues with the current IT infrastructure. For ease of reference, the register contains a summary of management comments and progress updates. However, a master copy of the detailed corporate risk register is available for members to view if required. Unless there are any questions from members, this is the end of my report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Jane. And I'd like to call for any questions to Jane around the corporate risk register. Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed the cyber security. I'm just wondering what networks we might be plugged into, if any. Do we regularly talk with GCHQ, for example? How is this all managed?
Thank you, Councillor Butters. Jane, is that something that you know about?
I do know that we have firewalls, cyber security monitoring. We do that regularly. So in terms of our firewalls and prevention of any hoax or any viruses coming in, is very, very low. We have all that in place.
Thank you very much, Jane. And I think Angie wants to come in on this point.
Yeah, just for some further assurance, we have an external IT contractor, as you know, Amicus, and they are linked in with all of those networks, both for GHQ and also all of the networks across IT. So they're very sort of informed of any sort of known or potential threats around IT security. So they will regularly send us information on that, as well as doing their penetration testing. So yes, we are linked in with all of the relevant security. Amicus are also very highly certificated with their IT security. I think they've actually got a formal certification around that as well, which was one of our key criteria for appointing them as one of our contractors.
Thank you, Angie, and thanks for raising that, Neil. Obviously, cybersecurity is a big issue, and it has become more and more an issue over the last few years, and it's obviously constantly evolving. So it's good to hear that we've got some experts on that. Are you happy with that, Neil?
Yes, thanks. It's a bit worrying to see it's such a big risk, but I suppose that's the best we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Do any other members have questions around the corporate risk register? No? Obviously, the corporate risk register has been majorly, sorry, I'll get my teeth in a minute, majorly affected by the global pandemic, and I think all sectors, local government, everywhere, there's an awful lot of uncertainty, which is why some of these risks are as high as they are. But thank you for that, Jane. And I'd like now the recommendation is that we review the register and consider the mitigation in place and consider whether the committee needs any further information to be assured of the appropriate management of corporate risk. So do members have any comments on that, or can I get somebody to move that? I'm happy to move the to review and register and consider the mitigation, and no members have asked for any further information to be assured of the appropriate management of corporate risk. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Trevor. Councillor Jones. And that concludes item 12, and we'll move on to item 13, which is the corporate business continuity framework. And I think Claire's going to present on this one, please.
Good morning. It's just to introduce the report, really, and the intention of this report is just to outline the service's current position on business continuity and to look at recommendations for the future under the heading of making our service stronger. I've also got Justin with me, so if there are any questions, we can both take those for you.
Thank you, Claire. Do any members have any questions for Claire or Justin? Neil, did you have a question? Sorry.
No, sorry, no, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, false alarm. Thank you.
Okay.
No problems at all. So we are asked to note the report details, suggested actions and management responses, and to consider receiving an annual update report to support our ongoing review of the corporate business continuity framework. So does anybody like to move that? If not, I'm quite happy to move it. And can I have a seconder? Councillor Butters, thank you very much. That concludes item 13, and we'll move on to item 14, which is for information only. And this is around the Redmond review, and Angie is going to present on this one.
Thank you, Chair. As he indicated, this paper is for information, although there are also 2 items there to agree to respond to a consultation, which I'll talk about in a minute, and agree to receive a further update report and impact analysis when further details are known. So as the paper highlights, since 2014-15 and the abolition of the Audit Commission, we've had the current arrangements in place, and the government have wanted to review and examine whether the current local audit framework, sorry, I put my teeth in, is effective. And they commissioned a review by Redmond, and that was published in September 20. The drivers for that, which you've heard a little about today, was in particular that the 18-19 accounts, over 200 of the 487 local body accounts were delayed. And the committee will recall that ours was delayed in that year as well. Although, as you have heard today, the 19-20 accounts were delivered on time for this authority, although many local authorities didn't achieve that. So the government launched a review by Sir Tony Redmond, and the report outlines the findings. And in response to that, the government have issued their responses and committed to exploring the full range of recommendations and options in the new year, but we don't have a particular time frame for some of those ones in the new year. So this is a very detailed document. The review itself was 85 pages long, and then the government response was on the end of that. So this is just trying to extract for you the potential areas which might impact on you as an audit committee and the fire authority. So in terms of the responses, that one of the issues identified was around market fragility, and this was capacity and capability in external audits, and also entry requirements. And within that, the report and the response talked about the anticipated rise in auditors' fees. And as the committee will know, that has been a topic of discussion for us. And within the government response, it indicates a commitment to £15 million of additional funding being available to local authorities in 21-22 to assist those impacted by the fee increase, and also to drive forward some of the changes indicated in the review. So we don't have further information yet about if and when and how much we might receive in terms of that funding, but obviously that is one for you to watch as a committee. Another area in there was around sort of system leadership. And the report itself was recommending a new independent regulator local audit, which they called the Office of Local Audit and Regulations, to manage and oversee and regulate local auditors. That of course is a matter for governments, and in the correspondence and responses you'll see that there's differing views on that, but there is a commitment to look at system leadership. But for the committee, it also talks about review of governance arrangements within local authorities. And it talks about the potential for external audit reports to go to full council meetings, an independent member on audit committees, and also formalised annual meetings of the statutory officers and audit partners. So to some extent, we have all of that, a number of those in place, either full or partially, but that will be something also to watch and consider moving forward. And the third area was around functioning and transparency of financial audits. And there are a number of areas around that. That's both in terms of the timings of the financial account audits, and also the transparency and the ability of the public to be able to read and understand those audit reports. And what the government have said there is, subject to consultation, it's likely that they will extend the deadline for the final accounts for 2021 and 21-22 from July until September. And also they are doing some work with SIPFA to simplify the presentation of the statutory audits and to provide a simplified and standardised format for that. And they have provided an example illustration around that as well. So that will be also one that we will be considering. So therefore, while this committee has raised no issues with our external auditor, the report is indicating potential national and systemic changes in local audit regimes for finance. So as I say, it's one to watch for us, and one to contribute to the consultation when that is issued. And my suggestion is there that we're looking out for that consultation, and then we will take that forward in conjunction with the committee chair. And then for the committee to receive a report on how the committee intends to respond to the recommendations where they refer to something that we can address locally. I also know, as Ian has indicated, that we're due to receive the Deloitte's annual plan at the next committee. And that will include the impact of the 2020 Code of Audit Practice, and especially changes there around value for money, to make sure that in the area of value for money, it provides informative insights and also commentary. So I will leave it there. As I say, is trying to condense down what is a very weighty tome to wade your way through, and try and indicate the potential indications for this committee as well. Whether, Chair, it's helpful to pass over to Ian at this point as our external auditor to give us any further insight that I'm sure he's had, because I'm sure he's been poring over that report as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angie, and obviously for translating that to us, if you like. And this is something that we're going to have to deal with and see more details, I'm sure, in upcoming meetings. Ian, would you like to say anything on that?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Angie. I think it's very useful for you to bring this to the attention of the committee. As I lead the public sector business for Deloitte nationally, I was engaged by Satoni as part of the review and contributed to that. And I've also been involved with MHCLG as they look at how on earth they now take forward the significant number of recommendations within his report. The heads of audit of the various firms involved in this market are meeting with MHCLG this Wednesday to discuss the issues with the market, the fee levels, but also some of the sustainability issues around the number of people and the specific requirements required to be able to sign a public sector opinion, which are different to a corporate opinion, and mean it takes a number of years for somebody to gain that experience. So you can't suddenly create capacity in the market. And in reality, what tends to happen is the work moves around, the people with the expertise move with the various firms doing that work, and then it's a very small group of people. So the profession recognises that the rate of audit completion in both 1819 and 1920 is not where it needs to be, and is working with MHCLG to find solutions to this market, which has been inevitably left by the abolition of the Audit Commission, which provided stability over many years. And I think people didn't realise quite how difficult it would be to replace that with a market solution.
Thank you, Ian. And obviously this does represent what could be quite big changes to the audit sector. Do members have any questions for Angie or Ian? Councillor Tucker.
Mainly for Angie, in terms of the expected additional funding we're likely to get to cover the increased audit fee. Did they give any idea of timescale at all, Angie, or is it still one of those kind of waiting in the wind until we get the announcement or a sudden additional fund land on our desk?
Thanks, Councillor Tucker. That's the sort of most important question, I think, for us in all of these kind of outcomes. I haven't seen anything directly on that. I don't know whether the Treasurer has been notified. I don't think so either. I think what it says in the outcome and the response is that sort of more information in the new year. And so I haven't seen anything directly around the timescale for that. Of course, I know how important that is to us. So we are kind of keeping a very watchful eye on this and will report as soon as we know anything further on that.
Thanks, Richard, and thanks, Angie.
Thank you. They always keep it vague with councils too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Do any other members have questions at all? No? Okay. So the recommendations are that we're asked to note the report and agree to respond to the consultation once published through the committee chair, and also to agree to receive a further update report and impact analysis once further details are known. So I will move that and ask for a seconder, please. Councillor Ash, thank you very much. You're the first hand I saw, but thank you for the other offers. So that's the recommendations are passed, and that is the end of item 14. Item 15 is just the date of the next meeting, which will be the 18th of March 2021 at 10 a.m. I will move that. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Tucker, thank you very much.
Can I just check, Chair, is it 10 or 10:30? I'm sure Emma can confirm.
It should be 10:30, Clerk.
Apologies, and thanks
Yeah,
for being
thank you.
so alert on that one, Amanda. And that will also mean I've got an extra half an hour before I have to get into the office, so that's brilliant. The date of the next meeting will be the 18th of March 2021 at 10:30. So if we could just change that slightly and reflect that in the minutes, that will be great. Okay.
And also make sure the right year.
Yeah, 2021. That's brilliant. Thank you, Neil. Okay, we get to item 16 now, which is the exclusion of the press and public. So I will move that we resolve that the public be excluded from this meeting during the following items of business on the grounds that they contain exempt information pursuant to Schedule 12A, Part 1 of the Local Government Act 1972, and that in accordance with Schedule 12A, Part 2, Paragraph 10 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So I will move that, and I've already got a seconder from Councillor Jones. That's absolutely brilliant. So we will temporarily stop